I'm Srishti Deshpande, MPT resident, and my elective is musculoskeletal physiotherapy. Today introducing Dr. Renu, who is a senior physiotherapist, gold medalist, and the founder of Arm Health and Wellness, Navi Mumbai, with over 15 years of successful clinical practice. She specializes in orthopedic, spine, and sports physiotherapy with a strong focus on assessment-led treatment, biomechanics, and movement-based rehabilitation. Uh, she's a regular speaker at professional conferences where she presents on advanced physiotherapy concepts and clinical reasoning, and is deeply passionate about mentoring young physiotherapists to think beyond protocols and develop strong clinical decision-making skills. Her work stands as a benchmark for assessment-driven, movement-based physiotherapy in modern clinical practice. She is also a recipient of national awards for inspiring leader in physiotherapy, conferred by the Indian Association of Physiotherapists, and has served as a physiotherapist at the Commonwealth Youth Games, gaining valuable experience in elite level sports rehabilitation. Handing over to you, ma'am.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. It could not have been perfectly timed because today is one of the days where there is a historic change in physiotherapy. Yes, because the High Court has allowed us legally to write doctor as a prefix and suffix it by PT. So this has been a fight since the last 50 years. And we have been constantly fighting through bureaucracy, through our work, each physiotherapist to get to this day. Now, what we must understand is with the doctor and PT also comes enormous responsibility. Let me take you back a little bit to the history of physiotherapy. See, we were physiotherapists, so we were deliverers of therapy, basically. When polio cases came and when physiotherapy started at that point of time, where we would execute only exercises. Now, this was somewhere in early 1900s, and from there to now, physical therapy has undergone a paradigm change where we are now not only diagnosing better, treating better, but looking for class outcomes. This is evidenced by so many sportsmen, so many mountaineers, so many people doing excellent jobs, excellent recreational activities, excellent occupational activities. So this is a paradigm shift that has happened in the world of physiotherapy. Now, what also needs to happen is that we need to also keep on proving what an asset physiotherapy is, not only in terms of execution of exercises, but in diagnosing movement dysfunctions and treating them. Then in this scenario, what happens is that we need to constantly upgrade ourselves because science is ever moving. In some of the states in United States, because of the lack of doctors, actually physiotherapists are the first point of contact for all the patients. What does that mean? That means any person who has any problem first comes to a physiotherapist, and he or the physiotherapist will attend and see his symptoms, diagnose him vaguely maybe, and refer to the concerned specialty, whether it's orthopedics or neurology or however. So can you now imagine what a massive role we all are already playing in some parts of the world, and it's only going to expand. So today I'm here to present my topic of assessment is your superpower. Because see, in today's field, we have a lot of investigations. We have orthopedics, we have sports, and everything is out there. Your MRIs, your CTs, your X-rays, your blood tests. So what is our role? Where do we stand? That's going to be my talk today on assessment is your superpower. So let's get on to this. So are you routinely bored of also going to your clinic? Do you feel the same cases of neck pain or back pain are not exciting enough for you? Well, let me tell you something. Well, that's just because probably you have not started dealing in the root causes of the problem. What I mean to say is that suppose a patient of shoulder pain comes to you. He has right shoulder pain and he has pain when in overhead activities. Now he goes to an orthopedic surgeon, he takes the medications, And he does the x-ray and there's nothing really comes. So he's diagnosed probably as a simple frozen shoulder and sent us to you. Now, what our role here is that we need to deep dive into this frozen shoulder. And there are so many causes of frozen shoulder that could happen. For example, was it just the restriction it started? Was there an injury which led to impingement, then it case? Or was there a bursitis because of which he did not move his arm and now he's developed stiffness in the shoulder? So orthopedic surgeons are very, very good in treating fractures, in diagnosing conservative managements, but the deeper assessments, we are very, very good at it. For example, we can really find out that is the impingement the cause. We can really find out if there is a possible bursitis, or if we can really find out is the scapula the problem and not so much of the shoulder joint a predominant. Or if you have a low back pain, then where is the pain coming from? Is it the facet? Is it the disc predominantly? Or is it the SI? Or is it, for example, if it's the knee, if it is the knee the problem, or is the hip or the ankle? So we all are armed with lovely, lovely tests, lovely clinical reasoning, and great scientific evidence where we can actually go to the depth of these and then treat. The era of precision treatment is here. Now, for example, in the field of orthopedics, if they want to do a TKR, they will exactly find out how a tibial condyle is of one patient and uh, will devise an implant and insert the same kind of implant for highly successful outcomes. In oncology, initially, if there was radiation that had to be given, then the whole part had to be radiated. Now, in the recent advances, they do a very targeted radiation. So, lovely outcomes and less comorbidities, less complications. So, even in the in this era and in the world of physiotherapy, precision treatments have come. People are looking for individualized treatment. People like it when they diagnose something, when you find out what is the cause, when you explain to them, because that is how they're empowered and they can take care of them. And in case they can prevent the recurrence of such a problem. Now, if you are around people or your patients who do not believe in individualized treatment, then now the responsibility comes on you and all of us to improve our work and show them how individualized treatment programs can make a myriad of difference in them. For example, this girl, look at the figure below. She is doing a squat. Now, if a person comes to you with knee pain, if she had knee pain and she came to you and you analyzed her squat, if she squatted like this, now we can really find out all the faults in her forms, like the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, the lumbar spine, how her legs are going inwards, and her knees are tracking way over the toes. Now, in such a patient, you will have to find what exactly is the problem and treat as per. Are the hips stiff? Are the ankles stiff? Why is the knee collapsing inward? Is it a motor control issue? Is it a weakness issue? Is her hip capsule too lax? Then when you find the cause and when you treat it, you can correct the squat as is shown ahead. Now tell me, if a patient like this comes to you and you treat her and you teach her the right squatting form and tomorrow she joins a gym, do you not think she will go automatically assume a proper squatting form? And she's empowered to do it. Her body is resilient to do it. So her chances of injury come down. So this is the power of precision treatment. And this is where we are going to go today. All these three are my patients. All of them are corporates. They have a sitting job of more than 8 hours. And all of them had the same symptom, pain on sitting for greater than 10 minutes. Please understand, for orthopedic surgeons, it's just the same symptom, and they will come and prescribe them some medications, and they will probably send them over to you. But all of them could not sit for more than 10 to 15 minutes at their workplaces. And they were really, 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 fearful of work. But one assessment, how was it different? Along with the pain, the first patient, he had headache. On examination, we found that he had upper cervical spine stiffness, he had tight upper cervical extensor muscles, and he had poor activation of deep neck flexors. The second patient, along with the neck pain, which was more on the right side, he also had giddiness, On assessment, you can visibly see he had a forward head posture, he had poor cervical movement and rotational control, and also lower cervical spine was hypermobile. The third lady, she had tingling in bilateral upper limbs, she had lower cervical spine hypomobility, and she had poor scapular control. So you see, whatever seems the same, the symptoms were the same, but their presentation on our examination, they had completely different dysfunctions or present, or her the assessment was completely different. Now you can imagine the treatment for all these three are completely different, and we did that, and they recovered very, very, very fast. Within 3 to 4 sessions, they were able to sit for a long period of hours. Now, all of them are rehabilitated. They are back to sitting for 8 to 10 hours. In fact, the girl on the right, she just told me she traveled for 15 hours on a long weekend, and she was very comfortable doing that. So this is the power of precision physiotherapy. They will come to you fewer number of visits. You will be able to diagnose them quicker. The treatment is faster. It is more efficient, and it's a lot of fun doing that, I must say. Moving ahead. So, what is the real purpose of assessment? I'm sure all of you are really, really confused about what is how do you do this. We all know we should assess better, but many of the times it's the same protocols we have to do. Many of the times we don't have time, there are too many patients, and predominantly I feel most of the times when a patient comes to you, you really don't know what all to assess and what all to not, because new fields, new concepts, new approaches come, and we generally get a little perplexed about how to start and how to approach a patient. What you need to remember is your assessment should direct your attention to the meaningful complaint. For example, if the girl comes and she says, I have pain in squatting, we have to first start analyzing everything that starts hampering her squat. So when you start moving your direction, your history taking and your assessment towards a proper finding of the causes, then you will automatically cut down a lot of assessment tools that you need not have. See, even this girl, if you find if you examine too deeply, you will find many findings which might not be very relevant to her pain in the knee while doing the squat. So our assessment should lead us to a hypothesis. At the end of history taking, actually, and the assessment, after the assessment, you have a proper diagnosis that this is the problem and this is how I'm going to treat. So that's the power of assessment. And it doesn't take more than 15 to 20 minutes to do that if you start gaining more and more experience. So it's not so difficult to do this at all. Now, coming to the next part where we will be doing about history taking. Now you will ask me what's so important about history taking? Ideally, a good history will help you find the hypothesis, and with the good history, with the hypothesis, you can do your assess. So your assessment will confirm your hypothesis. Like if the same girl, let's take the example, like she is squatting and she's having pain. What is her site of pain? Is it patellofemoral? Is it tibiofemoral? Now, how is it happening? So with our proper history taking, we are going to find out why this happened in her life right now, and how our assessment will help us make the diagnosis, and we will confirm our findings. So we will talk about history taking right about now. In the history, of course, first is the name. See, our name is the sweetest sound in our language. So we should know our patient's name, I think. Second is age, for obvious reasons. If it's a younger patient, better healing. If it's a very senior citizen, maybe delayed healing. Gender, very important for male and females. Females with the hormonal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal. It's so important to find out because when they come to us with back pains around that age, we really need to find out, is it just the back or is it more than that also? Then location, their address. Why is it important? Because, if they're, we need to know that how many times can this patient actually come to our clinic, you know, and if he comes from very far away, then I have to adjust my treatment so that he comes only once a week. Or if I have to adjust my treatment, if he can come for 2 or 3 times a week. So we need to actually know what is his feasibility in taking our sessions. Like so many patients we get, they are studying abroad or they are working abroad. So they come in the months of December. So we really have to make exercise programs so that we finish with our manual therapy or mobilization work when they are here, and we can do a couple of things online so that they get to the groove of it. So the address is very important. Now, in history taking, there's this one thing that we all should remember. It's really a privilege to hear anyone's story. So when a patient walks in, see, he's already in pain and he's probably gone to 1 or 2 doctors and then probably he's come to you. So we should begin by asking, what brings you here? Or tell me your story. Now you will say, why is this important? Ek to time nahi hai, and what is she saying? Remember one thing. Two patients, same kind of disc, maybe two herniated discs. One of them will have a pain on VAS of 6 on 10, and the other one will have a VAS of 3 on 10. The first person probably is very scared to move and bend forward, and the one on the 3 on 10 is probably moderately, he is kinesiophobic. Your perception of pain depends on your cognitions, on your thoughts, on your beliefs, and your emotional states. So, if this 6 on 10 patient comes and he says that he's so scared to move, when he tells you his story in his own way, you will find out what his thoughts, beliefs, and his emotions are about it. Maybe in the previous, he had a past experience when he bent forward and he was in immense pain and he could not go back to his office and he had to take a big break for 6 weeks and he's now just scared to move. So he says, now I'm not going to bend forward and I will tweak my life accordingly. So, a proper history taking will help us understand what this person is all about. And isn't it a privilege to help someone to move with such common movements? So, if you really hear them, you diagnose them, and if his thought or his beliefs are in the way, then you need to explain the biomechanics in a very simple form. You treat him, you take off the pain, and you slowly, gently put him to painful movements in a pain free manner. Now, when you do that, his nervous system starts understanding, okay, I don't need to be scared of bending forward. And then he starts gently incorporating the hinge in his regular activities. And more than you know it, he's back to his original life. And isn't that physiotherapy is all about? So here we will stop the part one and we will continue with the history in the session two. Thank you so much.